This is our friend Skeeter. He's going on a trip. His family wants to learn more about what they'll see and explore. Skeeter started researching the people who inhabited the area and how they lived. This is what he learned.
Deep in the valleys of Utah lived many Native American tribes. Two that Skeeter found interesting were the Anasazi and Fremont Indians.
The Four Corners are where Utah, Colorado, Arizona, and New Mexico meet, and it's also where we find remains from the ancient Anasazi Indians who lived there between 1050 and 1125 AD. That's more than 890 years ago.
The Anasazis lived in homes that they built themselves. Some were made with clay, others with rocks. Can you imagine living in a house made with rocks? It would probably be a lot different than sleeping in your soft bed at night.
This window may not have glass or curtains like they do in your house today, but the windows were an important part of the house to let fresh air in.
The Anasazi Indians lived with many other families in a huge community that stretched for many miles. In the basements or bottom floors of their homes, the Anasazis stored their grains. In the upper levels of the handmade house is where they slept and spent their days in the shade. How many windows can you count in this picture?
The area that they lived in was great land to farm on. In the valleys, they grew crops such as corn, squash, gourds, which are kind of like pumpkins, beans, and cotton. Growing these things not only fed the Indians and their families, but established economy in the community.
Skeeter was really excited to learn about the kivas in the Anasazi community. This is a picture of a kiva. The people used kivas to worship their gods. Separate from the living quarters, there were usually 2 kivas per village.
The people sometimes painted art or pictures on the rocks to tell their stories and leave behind something for people to find later. What could this be a picture of?
The Indians made beautiful clay bowls, vases, and other tools to use. With the things they made, they were able to make houses and prepare food.
Some of the things that the Anasazis made have since decayed and been destroyed by rain and wind. Skeeter realized that the houses and dwellings that the people built have actually lasted a really long time.
The other group that Skeeter was interested in learning more about were the Fremont Indians. They lived in a huge part of Utah in 1300 AD. Does it look like they lived in Provo?
Just like the Anasazis, the Fremont Indians lived in dwellings made from rocks, mud, and clay. They also lived in houses called wickiups, made from brush and logs they found.
The Fremonts lived in very small groups of only 2 or 3 families. The families lived and worked far away from other families, but still considered themselves a community.
Skeeter wondered if the Fremonts created pictographs or petroglyphs on their walls.
He figured out that a petroglyph was made when they carved or chipped away the rock to make pictures.
And a pictograph was created when they drew or painted on the rock with berries. The pictures told of stories and events in the lives of the Indians.
Is this a pictograph or a petroglyph? What do you think?
The last thing that Skeeter discovered about the Fremont Indians was their use of clay for making art. These are clay figurines, some of the things found from the Fremont Indians.
Skeeter learned that both the Anasazi and the Fremont Indians disappeared.
Oh no!
From their homes by 1300 AD. No one knows what happened to them. Did they have a hard time growing enough food? Were they driven out by hunters or other Indian tribes? What do you think?
Skeeter Peter can't wait for his family trip to visit the ancient Indian sites. He is hoping to find clues to unlock the mystery of the Anasazi and Fremont Indians.